leaning on the left, club up, pulling across. Pull across your left hip. An aggressive striking the match term that I like. Now, setting up for these shots, narrow stance. A lot of people are too wide with their feet. I like feet very close together and definitely feel like you're leaning on the left. Your right foot's quite light. Now, face open slightly because I want you to start picturing a slight slice swing that we need on this shot. So imagine you're playing a little cut across shot. You're drawing the left foot back from your target line. Now, because the weight's forward, you'll naturally have the hands positioned slightly forward, down the handle. So the face is slightly open. You've drawn the left foot back. The reason why we do that is because we want the hip slightly open, because we're drawing across it without running the risk of snagging clothing here with the top end of the club. Because remember, we're down the handle here. We want to play an aggressive, committed shot that requires a nippy strike, gets the height, minimal run. We don't necessarily want distance, so we're cutting it all down to a short club. Now, the cutting across it means that the path the club takes on the way back will look slightly outside to you. So pick it up outside the line. We don't want to come inside behind us here. That's quite common with people. So leaning on the left, club up, pulling across. Pull across your left hip. An aggressive striking the match term that I like. I like that analogy a lot. Imagine the club head is the matchstick, striking board is the ground, and you're setting your club head on fire. We've had so much rain. I'm making a mess with just a couple of little practice swings there. So just be careful if you're on a practice green that you're not going to make too much mess for the green staff to complain about. Very difficult conditions playing these shots. That's why you got to commit and not care about the outcome. We're going for a strike. We don't care where it goes. Our process is an action that's from an open stance, slightly open face, an out and across type pulling action. That's what we want to try and think of doing, committing to the strike and not caring about the outcome. There we go. Now, remember, feel will come from a success rate of good strikes first. Just hit one good shot and build on that. We don't care about how close to the pin we get yet. We're just trying to get a nice little action going that produces a quality strike each time. A simple, repeatable action. Because all we're going to do is change how we hold the club for the next type shot. So this was a lofted club, slightly open face, taking it up outside the line and coming across to keep the face from closing. And we finish in a position where that club head still looks very much skywards. We don't want to close the hands down at all. So imagine at the end of the swing, when you've played an aggressive strike in the match type action, you got the strike, the weight finishes on the left side, you feel firm with the left wrist, and you can imagine that a glass of wine can stand on that club face. That's quite a good analogy as well. So when you're playing practice swings, find a nice patch of grass, look at that object, pretending it's the ball, set up as I described, and commit to that strike. Can you see it's an aggressive action? It's not very wristy and slow. I don't want you playing these shots where you're just trying to sort of help it up. You've got a higher success rate, and I'm going to say 80-20 rule for most of you, especially if you're only playing once a week. Assess the lie and then play a shot with minimal moving parts. Use the club. So I've opened the face, hands slightly forward because I'm favoring the left foot with my weight. Narrow stance, draw the left foot back, down the handle. Now imagine a little slicey swing, so the club is outside the line going back. We don't want to run the risk of it coming inside. So when you're playing these shots, commit to getting the strike first before you worry about how close you're getting it to the flag. Get a consistent action going, then a consistent strike. So your goal is committing to these little swings before you worry about where they finish. Feel comes as a result of consistency in your action and consistency in that strike. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play little shots like that where you feel like you're duplicating, you're cloning that same swing, getting an improved strike, a lovely nippy strike that you can feel is becoming consistent. Then you'll start to notice that they go a set distance. This becomes your comfort blanket to know that, oh, my little 58 degree with this action produces a 12-yard shot with about 8 yards through the air, and it goes a certain height off this certain lie. This is how you start interpreting it, and then you store it in your memory banks. Remember, before you start playing the shot around the green, you've got to assess the conditions. I've made a real hell of a mess here now, and like I said, wet ground. And you can see if I rest in a nice lie here, you're lucky, but you might be in a horrible spot. So don't try and play a lofted shot if you're sitting down and it's muddy. You might have to take humble pie and play a different shot. Okay, so the same action with the same club, but I haven't opened the face. I'm standing just a little bit less open. I've still got weight favoring the left. The ball is still in the center, but now I've closed my face to being square. It's not sat open like it was in my first shot. Hands will be more forward because I'm leaning more on that left side. I want to play more of a dragging shot. So again, I'm finishing firm in my left wrist. It's not a long swing. Same length as the previous one. But you feel with the left hand leading in, producing a dragging club head through impact. It lowers the trajectory. But the technique is very much the same as the first one. I've just adapted my club for the lie and the shot I'm faced in front of me. So here we go. Same thought process, same commit, same strike the match. And there's a lower flighted shot. Just slightly. Lower flighted, getting a bigger first bounce and maybe a little bit more forward run. So with the same club, the same technique, closing the face. Ball a little bit further back in my stance now. Weight still forward. So I've closed the face on my club. I'm standing a little bit squarer, and I'm now thinking of a slight hooked swing technique. So remember, we're going to be playing something here with a 58 degree, closing the face slightly, ball back, weight forward, hands forward. I'm thinking of a slightly hooking shot, which will produce a lower flight and more run. Same technique though, same kind of style. Commit to it. So you can see at the end of the swing, my face is closed because I set up with it closed. I went back straighter. I dragged through and I produced a flight that was lower, more shooty forward with a little bit more forward roll at the end. With the same club, a very similar feeling of technique and just changing a little bit of how much forward weight I have and positioning my stance open to the face being open or squarer to the face being squarer, I can play different shots depending on the lie, how much green I have to work with, and so on.